It is Heroes for Sale, episode 58, and the commander is back in the house. Stu's back, been demoted back to captain. Commander Colson, Sue, good morning, afternoon,
Hello.
evening. How are you?
Yeah, good.
And
There's
Stu,
got to be a mutiny, you know. That's
how are you
you
dealing
can
with
try to
emotion?
keep you down. Oh, mate, I'm just already fomenting rebellion. That's what's going on here. How do I get my roll back? It's all right. It's all right.
Quality. How have you both been?
Fantastic. See,
Fantastic.
I'm, which is what you need in a leader.
That's
so,
right.
Sue, how are you?
Majestic. I'm majestic.
Oh, majestic. Oh, all right. Maybe it's going to be.
Well, I don't know if
Queen
the crew relate
Coulson.
to that. I don't know if the crew relate to majestic. So, see how we get on.
Have we got an alien queen in our midst, Stu? All right, let's get into it. Let's talk some comics because we've got some interesting titles. It felt like...
we definitely retroed. We've definitely retroed the first three with their new imaginings. So
that's right. That's right. And so, it's going to be some interesting reading, that's for sure. But to be honest, my favorite of everything that we read for this podcast is the first one we're going to do, which is the new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles #1 through IDW. And it's gritty. It's gnarly. It's kind of what the original Turtles was supposed to be. And I wondered whether or not this is going to tie into the Ronin universe, because we did the Ronin graphic novel not too long ago, and it has a similar feel.
Well, it's Jason Aaron writing. So you're not going to get Cowabunga Pizza Turtles with him on board. And, I'm old enough, right? Are you old enough? I'm old enough to have been... So I first bought the Turtles when it was like this. And then they did the big sale and got their hundreds of millions of dollars, and it became, on everything. And we got the animated cartoons and all that everybody else grew up on, which is still cool because Turtles are great. But we have swung back to what was serious Turtle stories, which is, it's bizarre, but it's comics, folks, because you kind of go, wait, they're 4 turtles taught by a rat who live in the sewer, and you want to do serious. And I'm like, yeah, the original Ninja Turtle stories were all about the environment. It was all about, being better. They were cool, adult driven and adult targeted stories. And
I didn't know that. I always thought they were just really, really kids stuff. So when the last Ronin stuff was coming out, I was blown away. It was like, oh, this is really cool. And then reading this one, which is the setup for the new ongoing, right? This is setting it up for the next 40 years, they said. And it was so super violent and set in a prison. And I was just like, what is this? To be the ongoing series, I was quite blown away. Can I just ask you, if this is the level of violence and the level of concept that's going to be in the ongoing Ninja Turtles, it's not what I expect, and I would think there's some kids out there who are going to be coming in and looking for Ninja Turtles. Are they doing another one alongside this one that will be aimed at younger kids?
Oh yeah, I mean there's usually about 4 or 5 different Turtles comics a month running at the moment. You've got the Ninja Turtles Saturday morning cartoons version, which is definitely what you'd be looking at for a 10-year-old.
Yeah, that's still going, right?
Yeah. And then they're doing all their specials and the rebookings, the 40th anniversary special editions out, I think next week or the week after. But I'm just really happy that they've gone back to this, or they've delved. They never completely went away from it. There's been Ninja Turtle stories of this caliber over the years, but even the ongoing was pretty cool. But a lot of people were 136, and that's where you're starting. It's a tough. So this is a really good move, because the Turtles were popular. They were a big series before which is why Mattel or Hasbro, whoever it was, paid $250 million for the rights, because it was well-crafted stories with a lot of angles.
I tell you what, Jason Aaron paired with Joelle Jones on the art is just sublime. The paneling, the way the violence is just flowing through, the direction, all the coloring, I'm just loving it.
I was going to bring that up.
Gorgeous.
Yeah. The color is awesome, but also, as we do in best podcasting traditions, I'm holding a comic up so everyone else can see it, but not you who's listening. There is a panel there, a page there, which has got 8-9 panels on it. They're all different What are those?
angles.
Parallelograms, are they?
Yeah.
What are they? Trapeziums?
Rhombic
shape.
cuboctahedrons, I believe they are.
Oh,
right.
good
Yeah, good.
Lord.
No, they're not, because that's a three-dimensional object. I've just been a wanker. Sorry about
But
but it is my favourite shape.
But you know, the way that flows and the use of that shape with the white behind it looks really, really cool.
Yeah,
and
it's
you're right about the
beautiful.
violence as well, Sue, because the violence is top draw to the point that the last panel, you know, you've got a turtle who's got some human's tooth embedded in his fist, which I just love that detail. I thought it was great.
I missed that. Was that on the last?
It was that. Yeah, I got it. See, I should be captain of this ship. I saw the two.
Oh, honey.
Never mind. We'll go with that. Yeah, no, so Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, issue 1 from IDW and written by Jason Aaron and Joel Jones. If you read Turtles when you were younger than me and got the sort of the more kid stuff and really loved them and want to see how they grew up, this is for you. And if you're old enough to have read Turtles before they became the global marketing phenomenon that they became, they're back.
They are back. They are totally back. It's funny you said that, Jason Aaron writing this, and because I was about to say, like, hey, if you were a Punisher fan, you would like this comic. And then I remembered that he wrote the last run of the Punisher. So yeah, it totally ties in.
I mean, he wrote Scout. You know, this is a guy who can plot. Let's not kid ourselves about that.
Yeah, so now looking forward to this, because in this, it's not a spoiler, but there is one turtle featured in this, but it sets up everything beautifully.
Oh, and we still have the Raphael badges. Wow. If you buy this comic, you get a Raphael mask badge, and it's a decent one, man. It's like proper pins on the back of that, not the little hooky ones.
Cute.
It's
really cute.
That's awesome. I didn't get one when I got my comic.
Well, I mean, the instructions hadn't come down from the captain to pass them out to everyone, Riccardo. So I don't know what to say about that. You know, we're just poor training is what we get. So strike 2 to the management.
Maybe you need to come upstairs for more training, Stu.
It does remind me when I started at Radio Hodaki back in about 1998. I want to say the guy who was the PD program director at the time, we used to do air checks, and I'd come from Tauranga where there was no one else called Riccardo, so on the radio I just called myself Riccardo. And then first air check, he's like, mate, everybody's got 2 names, use 2 names. So I was like, okay. He goes, what's your surname? I said, Ball. He went, that's not going to work. I like Riccardo. He goes, you need something Italian. I was like, okay. And then he came up with Riccardo D'Angelo. So from then on, while I was on Radio Hodaki, I was Riccardo D'Angelo. And the first night that I was on here using that name, I got a phone call from one of my mates going, when did you become a fucking Ninja Turtle?
Nice.
So there you go.
Good stuff. Well, we ran long on that because I get the feeling Riccardo wants to run short on the next one, but that's okay.
No, not at all, mate. You got like
it's good.
You talk Saturday morning kids cartoons, right? And I look at Biker Mice from Mars, and I was like, it has that look, it has that feel. It maybe has a little. You know what it feels like? You know how He-Man was basically a toy range, and they went, shit, we need to do something with this, so they invented a comic. Well, this looks like it's a toy range they invented a comic for.
Well, it was a TV show.
I had no idea.
It was an animated TV show from 1993, and it went for 3 seasons, and then it had a little bit of a break, and then it started again. And Ryan Reynolds' company, Maximum Effort, are co-producing a reboot of the series. So I thought that's why this comic has been put out, because they're about to do a reboot in the animations. Was that why? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's the Saturday morning cartoons. Anything that came out of the 19s, nothing was made in isolation.
Yeah.
If you were making a cartoon, you were making pencil cases and comics, and would we? No, we wouldn't be getting video games then. We would have had, maybe a board game would have come along for Biker Mice and Mars, probably role play, the whole shebang, and it's just silly kids fun. It's Mars is populated. Yeah. Go on.
They're pretty cool. I mean, Throttle, Moto, and Vinny. It's like, and they've got cool, you know, bionic arms and built-in laser blasters and things. And I mean, I like that because I can actually see that in a kid's hands. You know, there was nothing nasty about it. And being anthropomorphic, it was kind of like you can do a little bit more. It's not believable. It's going to go over their heads if something did happen that was a little bit nasty. And
not believable. Mars was colonized by 2091 and it's full lush and farming, but it's run by mice.
But hang on, we know that's not true because it's shark side of the moon, remember?
Yeah, but that was the moon, honey. This is Mars.
Yeah, but didn't it go to Mars from the moon?
No. Well, they got there and the mice wiped them out. That's where it's going.
Let's write that comic. We should write that comic.
Yeah. Preparing for the But you know, one thing that really surprised me on this the most was how much story they got through and what really didn't feel like. Sometimes when you're flicking through comics, you could be like, oh man, you could have taken 10 pages out of that. You couldn't have taken a panel out of this. They crammed everything into it. They introduced the characters. They introduced the kind of, you know, the female affection piece. They introduced the bad guys, and then the conflict that's happening on Mars, and then the problems between, you know, this guy's got woes with his mother and her Alzheimer's or Mice-Simers, whatever they want to call it. The draft. There is so much story. But this is really tightly written. I know it's for kids. It's not my market. We've got a few people who have gone, oh my God, give me every cover. This was my favorite thing when I grew up. And I guess that's the same thing as, you know, I always come back to my Strontium dog. You can just keep bringing it out. I don't care. I will consume it and love it. But if you were a Bikewr Mice from Mars fan, I would imagine you'd be absolutely loving this.
Well, this is the missing chapter about the history of them. Apparently, that's what this is going to go into, which was never in the TV shows.
Right.
So if you did watch Bikewr Mice from Mars when you were little, you need to get this comic.
And if you just want some mad sci-fi with, you know, critters on sort of, it's even got the Invaders from Mars tripod type machines with some other dudes in them. It was more fun than I thought I was going to have reading it. And you know, there's sometimes we got to read comics for various, you know, for this podcast or for our book club or for just to be able to do reviews. And there's sometimes you read it and you go, when's this going to end? And sometimes you have to read them in two sittings. But this,
I read about
to finish,
three graphic novels for every one review that I can do.
Yeah, because we only review the good stuff, right? That's all we want to put out there. There's plenty of things that are like, this is okay, but it didn't really rock my world. This was far more enjoyable than I ever thought it was going to be. And I picked it because I wanted to do this sort of, let's do an 80s, 90s mashup for the comics since we're doing Turtles, this, and then the next one.
Well, it's certainly got that look about it. Yeah, it does have that look. The artwork is great. I'll give it that much. Bikewr Mice from Mars. I mean, I didn't hate it when I read it. I just kind of went, given all the stuff you normally give me to read, I was like, why is she giving me this?
Yeah. There's some folks who listen to this who've got kids. There you go. And if you want a good, fun action comic for your kids, this is it.
Yeah, there you go.
And it's fun. Yeah,
it's fun. I'll tell you what, you want action. Mate, I'll tell you what. Well, do you know Flash Gordon? He used to drive the tractor back in the day. Remember that ad?
Tell you what.
What a comic. Wow, what a comic. I love this. I thought this was really, really cool. And Flash Gordon was a little bit grittier and a little bit nastier than I remember him being.
So Madcave, Flash Gordon #1. Madcave last month or 2 months ago brought out Dick Tracy #1. And that read like a Sin City comic. Like the first couple of pages was all a little bit of, oh, that's okay. Okay, we've got Dick Tracy. Then you turn the next page and it was just a bar scene where someone had gone through it with a chainsaw or a meat axe, and it was just bodies on hooks, and it was like, what? This isn't Dick Tracy. Like it was a total mess of action, and it was like, oh, Dick Tracy just got gritty, or the crimes got real, and it was really, really cool. It's like you'd put it up there with Criminal and those sorts of Ed Brubaker crime books. Dick Tracy with those crime books is not what you're expecting. Flash Gordon, this is this is some of the grittiest sci-fi we've got in the shop, right? This goes from a violence and craziness point of view, possibly goes further than any Star Wars comic does, especially from the violence, from the sci-fi action. It's no secret that I'm not that much of a fan of Star Wars movies, but I think Star Wars comics are great. I think they've always put their best stories in there. I just dug this.
I expected this to be like the Flash Gordon movie that we just watched, and it was nothing like that.
Yeah, we watched Flash Gordon because it was mentioned a few times. We watched RuPaul with our daughter, and so this came out. Oh, let's watch Flash Gordon, and I could not, like, every spaceship in that movie. And I missed this when I was 14. Looks like a sex toy, and everything that everyone else is wearing looks like they're on some gay Broadway production. Like
Shorts
like,
and
when I was 14, I just thought this was about spaceships and a quarterback who got lost in space. There might be some subliminal messages there for some of the other audience, and some people might find this, something they want to sneak into their bedroom. But this
is brilliant.
This is not your normal Flash Gordon.
It's so good. Heavily stylized, gorgeous, fine line artwork in amongst the action, and none of the action is lost. It's so well drawn. Gorgeous, different alien space creatures. Coloring is fantastic. The pinks and the oranges through it. I just loved it. I loved it.
And fast-paced action. It was almost like what sometimes you had to go back to the panels because it's beautifully drawn. And that, it might be an alien suit, but it's a dinosaur to me, baby.
Yeah, there's a dinosaur there, but there's another alien with lots of teeth.
Yeah, that pink thing.
Yeah, that pink thing.
The guards. Yeah, that's
it's kind of quite eldritchy, isn't it? It's quite almost a bit Lovecraftian.
Yeah, definitely Cthulhu-esque.
What's Will Conrad done, Stu? Do you know off the top of your head? The artist?
Don't pin me up like that.
Oh, no.
I'll tell you what he's done. He's done the new Flash Gordon comic through Madcave.
Yeah. Written by Jeremy Adams too. I guess sometimes with sci-fi you want great new ideas and romps, and this is setting up a great new series, right? Flash is basically the story is him escaping from a torture room, and there's plenty of evilness going on around him, and because they're being nasty to him, he has to be nasty to them when he escapes, and that ensues.
That does ensue. I'll tell you what he has done. He's done some Red Sonja. He has done Judge Dredd as well. Those Left Behind. He's done a bunch of DC stuff. So he's done quite a bit of stuff, Will Conrad.
Yeah, okay. I should have looked that up before I came on the podcast. Sorry, but yeah, I love his art.
And then coming up, so the Flash Gordon part of Madcave, there's Defenders of the Earth comes out this month. And then they're doing a Flash Gordon quarterly magazine as well. And at the back of this, it has Comics Kingdom Presents Flash Gordon, and it's got the old classic type when they used to do them. They used to come out in a widescreen. They used to be serialized in newspapers. Flash Gordon. Remember this 70-year-old little old lady from out West Auckland used to come in and once every couple of months and buy the big Flash Gordon widescreen hardcovers because she used to get them when she was a little girl.
Yeah,
so that was cool. Yeah.
Yeah, Mandrake the Magician and Phantom and that appear in the back there. I wonder, is this going back to some of these classics? Do you think off the back of the success that Titan have had with relaunching Conan?
I think there's just a lot of these properties lying around that can be picked up relatively easily.
Or is it just that I like to bring everything back to Conan?
I think that might be it.
Well, I think if it's going to make you feel better, Riccardo, we can credit the relaunch of Flash Gordon to Conan. If that's going to help you out.
Yeah. No, that's fine. I enjoyed this comment. I didn't think I would when you gave it to me. I was like, oh yeah, because all I thought about was the movie. It's nothing like the movie. It's really
actually cool. In the first panel, he does have his shirt ripped off, so I guess that's Conan-esque. There you go.
It's also Flash. I mean, Flash Gordon never had a shirt on in that movie.
No, it's also a bit. Let's do the time warp again as well, isn't it? Just a little bit.
just a touch. Just a touch. Yeah. Rock and roll.
Flash Gordon, yeah, it is back and it's really cool. If you like sci-fi and you like a bit of action and it's quite gritty, it's quite good. I quite like that, the new Flash Gordon comic through Madcave. Let's get to it, Stu.
What do you mean you haven't read it?
And this is one you have to read. Honestly, I've been collecting this since it came out because I'm a fan of the Tiny Onion. James Tynion the IV. He has done it again, knocks it out of the park, Stu.
The
Tiny Onion.
Very cool. Okay, very cool. Yeah, I mean, we did the single issue of this when it came out, which is what you then said, "Oh, put me down for it all." And then here we are now doing volume 1 of the graphic novel because it just, I mean, it's just one of the best-selling books that we carry. It's really popular. People love where it's going, and that's just Tynion. You know, he's remained prolific, but he's remained really clever. So a couple of weeks back, we had the continuation of Nice House by the Lake with Nice House on the Sea. Was it the other way around? On the lake and by the sea? I don't know. And all his independent works that he does, just they've got heart. You know.
Do you know what he does? I've figured it out because I've been doing so many reviews on his work. He will isolate a fear that is out there in the world, or a fear that he can identify as a really big human trait, like in Something's Killing the Children, the fear kids have if they hear a squeaky floorboard in the night and they think it's a monster, but we know the floorboard needs to be changed. So he isolates fears, and there is a real fear out there about AI at the moment, and he's just played on it so beautifully.
Did you come up with that theory after reading Closet?
Yes. I have. Well, I've done quite a few of his, but he does. He really exploits.
How would people react in that situation?
Yeah.
So Nice House by the Lake is how we're going to behave at the end of the world.
Yeah. Yeah.
If we're the chosen few.
But that's also playing on the fear that, do you really know the people that you think you know? Like, there was some other ones built into that. And in this one, it's not just the fear of AI, it's the fear of the people that we perceive to be manipulating it and pulling the strings. And in that's this group of teenagers. I guess we should say the premise, right?
Right.
Decades ago, a group of teenagers got together and made contact with the underweb, played around a little bit with it, and then realized that they thought it shouldn't be let loose and was going to be nefarious. Some things happened, and then decades later, they've all gone on their way. Most of them are still in tech, but they've got to come together to re-establish the World Tree program, which shut down the underweb the first time. Only it's got loose, and this is kind of where the story picks up. Would you say that's a summary of it, Stuart?
Yeah, while you were doing that, I was just reading the reviews on the back. Sorry.
Oh.
Did you read Brian K. Ward's?
No, what does it say?
Dear God, James. and you might feel it after reading this, you might go, oh my God, what have I just read? I mean, it's powerful. There's no doubt about that.
Would you say it's also, I think, Stu, you talk about how we chose the propellant. We went with an aerosol propellant, and it was between two, and the scientists just happened to choose one which gave us a longer time before it destroyed the ozone and we were able to stop using it. But if we'd chosen the other one, the CFCs, or what was it called?
We chose CFCs, because they were going to work better on something, you know, for the refrigeration and all that. But there was another version that was like, I don't know, BFCs or whatever. I can't remember the exact thing. And this was in a New Scientist article I read about 20 years ago. And the CFCs destroyed the ozone layer at a slower rate. And apparently, if we'd have gone with the other one, before we realised that the ozone layer was being destroyed, we would have stripped it.
Wow.
So we could have just completely wiped ourselves out around 1986.
Yeah.
Just gone. And we would have had no idea what it was that was causing it. We didn't have the stuff up there. So.
Yeah. And I watched a Tynion interview about World Tree, and he didn't talk about CFCs or anything. That was just something that I'd remembered from Stewie. But he talked about just people who are in a position to just plod along ahead with different technology, and should they really be allowed to? And, you know, it's like when the Hadron Collider was turned on, we were at a party and I was scared we weren't going to live through it. There was a minuscule chance, Stewie. He's shaking me.
It's like Y2K all over again.
I am unreal. I wrote software in the 80s, and I can tell you now, every single thing I wrote crashed at the year 2000.
Really?
Everything. Yeah. If it was not rewritten, it all went, I'm not going to turn over. Yeah. So as much as everyone goes, that was bullshit, it was only bullshit because everyone fixed everything. There was 3 years of, hey, none of this stuff's going to work in 3 years' time. You guys know that, eh? I'm like, don't.
You know what was really interesting for me about World Tree was at the time the graphic novel came out and I was reading it, the networks went down in Australia and the trains were brought to a halt, emergency services were gone and everything. And it was between the core, the distribution and the access networks. And they went down. And now if anybody's reading it now, they'll probably be thinking of the CrowdStrike thing that happened in the Azure outages.
Well, that's the convenient thing of science, the internet and data, is you can guarantee if you're going to write a comic about an outage, one's going to happen.
Yeah.
This CrowdStrike one that just happened wasn't the last. And, let's not rain on them because it's, as I said, Sue, that's like giving a fireman crap because he gets a flat tire on the way there.
Totally. Yeah.
But the other 3 engines got there, so leave that train alone.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. I think that's Tynion's beauty is he brings in reality, but it's not real what he's talking about, but it feels real because we can link it to something.
But it could be. Yeah. And that's what the best horror writers do. And that was what I was going to say. You know how you talked about it's this group of people who, as teenagers, found the underweb or the dark web or whatever it's called, and then realized something needed to be locked down, and then 20 years later have to come back together to fix it again. That's it by Stephen King. Same kind of thing, different monster, but same kind of premise. And that I got lots of those kind of vibes off it, even though the bulk of the story is different. It kind of it's about that fellowship, if you like, and that friendship and how you change, those people you grew up with 20 years later, you're all different, but in a lot of ways you can get together with those people and you revert to type like how you were 20 years ago.
What I didn't like was how the AI manifested and what it was able to manipulate people to do. The idea of the organic mesh with the tech, because that's already happening. We grow specific organic materials to keep the microchips cool inside the operating systems. It's like, whoa, it's all here, Stewie. Shaking your head at me.
No, it's real. Fear the chip. It's the whole, AI. If you set an AI program and its job is to make paperclips, it will eventually kill us. Because if all it's doing is making paperclips, eventually it will use every resource to make every paperclip it can, and we're in the way. So you got to be careful how you set these things up. So on top of the uber violence in this comic, because it is, there's no denying that. There's a very, very high body count. There's a lot of full frontal nudity, if that concerns you. And there is a penis as well. There is a penis in this. So, for some reason we're okay with breasts, but people freak out at that. So just try to let's just try to get a few of the ladies to race out and buy it. Let's see if we can find it. You're going to go through page by page. Where is that cock?
Actually, I didn't see that, and I didn't understand.
Do you want me to hold it up?
Go on, hold it up.
It's all right. You keep talking, and I'll find it.
No, we shouldn't look at it on air. Good Lord.
We do this all the time. It's totally inappropriate. You know what? To really make this podcast, we're going to discuss if he's circumcised as well. And just to really make it. It's the only way it works.
Why was she naked? The actual embodiment and physical.
I think my take on it is a bit like how the T-1000 is naked when he arrives, right? Like matter, like that kind of dead matter doesn't exist there, then can't come through.
Yeah.
Well, they were dressed in Tron. I don't know. The closest thing we've got.
But she is actually a human, isn't she?
But she's been living in the dark web, though, hasn't she?
Yeah. I'm glad you didn't spoil that, Sue, because who is she is revealed.
Spoil it. I didn't.
You'll find that out, folks. You'll find that out.
Didn't spoil it.
If you've read Nice House by the Lake on the Sea, whichever one, I'm going to have to get my...
Nice House by the Lake.
Is it by the lake and on the sea? Is it Nice House
on the sea?
Okay. If you've read those, if you've read Department of Truth, Closet, and Something is Killing the Children, then you're possibly already reading World Tree. If you've read none of those, then start with World Tree.
Yeah.
And then get into the rest of them because they are all fantastic. James Tynion the IV, or the what onion, do you call it?
The tiny onion.
The Tiny Onion.
I like that.
Part of me wants to say that's childish, and we should be getting better from our captain. But that's where we're going to get. Strike 3, baby. I think you're out.
Oh
I can't claim ownership of it. I actually love Tynion's work, so I found a newsletter that his people send out, because I think he has people that does it now. And you know what it's called? The Empire of the Tiny Onion.
Oh well,
So he's
there you
named
go.
himself.
So that's not strike 3 on me. Just make that clear. I didn't even hear strike 2. Can I just say there is actually reference in the book to the worldtree.net as a website, and it does exist, and there is some content on there from Tynion.
Have they expanded it?
Well, they hadn't done much when I looked at it, but it looked like it was set up to be have more put on as he does World Tree. You can find the password in the comic.
Oh, and by the way, folks, World Tree is spelt with a 0 for the O and 2 3s for the 2 E's of tree. So W0RLDTR33 if you're going for that website.
Yeah.
Oh, there's
it's
a login.
like a password, isn't it? It's like a
password. The password is in the graphic novel.
Yeah. Oh, superb. Yeah, I mean, just in general, read James Tynion. You won't hate yourself for it. He's great. He's brilliant. He's one of the best writers around at the moment.
I would go to say, as far as to say, if you read Junji Ito's manga that leaves a creep under your skin, then you would like Tynion's graphic novels. I'm going to make that statement.
The Queen has spoken, Stu.
Please try again. I just tried to log in. All right, it was the wrong password. I put in my birthday.
Do you need tech support?
The password's in the book.
Yeah, I know. On the back, it's got, the meaning of PH34. And I tried that, but no, that wasn't it. So.
Yeah. Do you guys remember, just on this, now that you're doing the World Tree website, do you guys remember the movie The Game with Sean Penn and Michael Douglas?
Yes.
Right. So when that came out, I was working, we were promoting it at the radio station I was in, and they had a website. So you could, if you haven't, it's probably okay to spoil this movie if you haven't seen it already, but basically Michael Douglas's brother gives him this thing where you can go and have this experience that, takes you to your limit. And he goes and does all these tests, spends half a day doing it. His brother's a bit of a loser. And at the end of it, they say, no, you didn't pass, you failed. And he gets real pissed off and walks home. And that's when the game starts, which he doesn't realize. Right. So, but I hadn't seen the movie yet. And we had this website, and you could go through and they set you through all these tests, and you did it all online. And at the end of it went, no, you don't qualify. And I was like, what a fucking shit website. And then I went and saw the movie, and I went, oh, now it makes sense.
That's funny.
That's cool, man. That's cool.
Too good. All right, the World Tree. That is, what do you mean you haven't read this? Definitely go and read it. What issue are we up to now? About 14?
The second graphic novel is due out very soon. Like we submitted orders 5-6 weeks ago. It's probably going to be here in the next couple of 3 weeks. Just get on it. I mean, if you just get comics and you get the odd graphic novel, this is one to snaffle, It's only going to come out every 6 months. You're good with that. If you're getting graphic novels and you've passed this up, just don't. Just get it, man. It's such clever writing, and you've got no idea what's going to happen on the next page. And that's the comic side of it.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of it. That's the beauty of it. There you go. That is Heroes for Sale, number 58. Don't forget, if you're in Auckland, they've moved. New store, Simon
205,
Street.
205. Come on down. We're loving it. And we had a guy in today who's been a long-time customer, and as he was leaving after we sold him gods and something else, he stopped and turned and said, "This is beautiful, man." And it was like, "Oh, thanks, bro." He then came back in and spent a couple of minutes saying, "No, I think you've really nailed this layout. I think it's a beautiful store. I love what you've done." So, yeah. You too can come in and tell us that. We're fine. Everyone's more than welcome to tell us how wonderful we are and the great space we've made for you all.
Come alive in the 205. 205 Simon Street. Yeah, get amongst it. That is Heroes for Sale for you. We'll be back with another one real soon.